Tupe. It's often said, the roots of our success stem from the lessons and attitudes that we learn from our parents and extended family, particularly when they've had to overcome barriers to get ahead. Tell us some of those early life lessons that influenced you.
So from my family, I learnt the value of hard work and of sacrifice. And I'm really lucky because I was able to benefit from generations of sacrifice. So the fact that I was even able to go to university and I had the option of going straight from high school to university, that was something that wasn't available to my parents and even to my siblings. I was able to take advantage of things that my siblings couldn't take for granted. My mum had to leave school when she was 14 so that she could help put food on the table for her family. My dad missed 7 years of his compulsory schooling because his parents couldn't afford school fees. In my own family, my older brothers and sisters had to go straight from high school into full-time work to help my mum and dad to provide for me and my little brother. And I'm extremely grateful for those lessons that I learned early on. And, something that I'm really proud of is that even though they had those experiences early, they valued education so much that they went back to university as adults to get their degree.
In fact, I understand your older brother, used to get up to do early shifts working at the airport to pay for you to go to university.
That's right. Yeah, I feel an immense sense of gratitude for that. He pulled those early shifts and I was able to go to one of the best schools in Auckland and then go on to University of Auckland. I owe my education to my brother, to my siblings and to my family. We place such a high value on education, and so that was something that I always wanted to make the most of because that was my way of contributing to the family.
Were you always ambitious?
It wasn't so much ambition that has been driving me. It's more been a sense of using my talents to serve, to make the most of the opportunities that came my way because, my family fought hard for those opportunities. Those weren't, things that just kind of fell into my lap. I could see very clearly what the price that was paid for me to have those opportunities. So I just had to make the most of it.
Now, I understand when you were about year 12, you had a chance conversation with your father and he introduced the idea of working for Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, becoming a diplomat, which is not something you'd considered. I think you were more heading down the medical route at that stage. How did that conversation really change your whole pathway for going to university?
Well, ever since I was young, I had always wanted to help other people, and I felt a very strong calling to serve. And at the time, I kind of thought, oh, well, doctors help people. Maybe I'll be a doctor. But I think it was around about year 12, when the sciences split into 3, that I kind of thought, maybe there's a better way of serving people using things that I'm good at. And so I had this conversation with my dad, and we looked at what my strengths were and what I really enjoyed doing. And it was languages, it was English, it was history. My dad suggested becoming a diplomat, and at the time, I hadn't really thought about it. But after he made that suggestion, it really started to make sense. And so I went to the University of Auckland with the specific intention of studying law and arts so that I could land a job at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. And after I graduated, that's what I did.
And just on the languages side, you've got a fantastic aptitude for languages. So you won a senior French prize, you speak Mandarin, and I think you also studied Japanese as well.
That's right. Yeah, I love languages. And growing up, we had my nana, who I'm named after actually. She lived with us and she was illiterate, but she spoke 4 languages fluently. And so I grew up hearing a lot of different sounds around me. So languages is something that came very naturally to me. Once I was given the opportunity and the resources, I could pick them up very quickly. So I studied French and Japanese at the University of Auckland, and I absolutely loved those languages. I loved being in those departments as well because we had quite small classes, maybe up to 30 people, and it was a really cool environment. And I was in the French play as well. I was very quite proud of that. That was a pretty cool moment, and I just had heaps of fun.
Your time at MFAT, I know you particularly enjoyed, and also the empowerment that they gave you at a relatively young age. You were involved in the negotiation of a trade agreement between New Zealand and Taiwan.
That was a groundbreaking agreement. We use Taiwan's name in the WTO, which is the Separate Customs Territory of Taiwan, Panghukan Manamatsu. That was an agreement which saw trade between New Zealand and the Taiwan market grow exponentially. So it's something I was really proud to be a part of. And after it was negotiated, I was also posted to Taiwan, where I helped a lot of New Zealand businesses to take advantage of the agreement.
Did you find that quite challenging at a relatively young age?
I think the great thing about the New Zealand Public Service is that we really make the most of the resources in terms of the people that come through. And so when I went to MFAT, I found that, straight away we're given responsibility, we're given, the development and the training that we need, but we're also given opportunities. So you just got to go in there and grasp those opportunities and make the most of it. It is, a journey. You get used to, being given more responsibility. And I think it was a real privilege to be given that responsibility at a young age.
Now, there's also a real creative, in fact, a very strong creative side to you as well, too. You particularly enjoy telling Pacific stories. How have you managed to integrate that into a very busy professional career?
For a long time, my focus was on things like climbing the ladder at work, but also I'm a mum, so my focus was also on my family and then paying the mortgage and paying the bills and all of that kind of thing. But it just kind of got to a stage where I just felt that I needed a creative outlet. And also throughout my career, I had the opportunity to rub shoulders with a lot of creative people. And I really admired their ability to communicate directly with the audience, and also their passion in pouring all of their time, resources, and sometimes even their own money into their projects so that they could get their message across. That was really the catalyst for me. Once I had a message that I really felt passionately about sharing, that's when I decided, you know what, I think I'm going to take a leaf out of the book of all of these wonderful artists I've been meeting with, and I'm going to pour my time and energy and resources and my own money into my passion projects. And the message that I wanted to get across was about diversity and inclusion, and about the unconscious bias that I faced in my career, and the importance of being inclusive of different voices, and also recognizing and rewarding different styles of leadership.
Yes, one of the productions that you put together, a web series, Misadventures of a Pacific Professional, which I think came about at a little bit of a low point in your career. Tell us a bit more about how you used that to kind of turn around your situation, didn't you?
I mean, at the time, I was feeling like some of the characteristics that I bring as a Pacific woman, as a Pacific professional, weren't being recognised. The thing that I had been missed out on a few leadership opportunities, and I had spent a long time trying to fit the mould of what leadership looks like in the New Zealand workplace. Gradually, it was more of a realization in myself that, I am a leader in my family, I'm a leader in my community, and even though I wasn't being recognized as a leader in the workplace. And so that was a bit of a journey in myself to recognize that what I had to offer, which was different, was very unique and special and achieved outcomes in the workplace. And so I came to the realization that leadership looks different to different people. And I wanted to spread that message that leadership doesn't look like one thing. I think we probably overvalue assertiveness and confidence in the sense that leadership can look different. So in the Pacific context, for example, humility and service, consensus-based decision-making, reciprocity, all of those things are highly valued in leaders. And those things have a place in the professional sense as well, because we need a whole range of different tools in order to reach an outcome.
So not being afraid to define your own style and feel the need to break out of the box occasionally.
Well, that's right. I mean, I spent a long time trying to fit the mold, and then I realized actually there's power in breaking the mold. We don't all have to do the same things. In fact, there's a lot of power in being innovative. There's power in being different.
So Tupe, what drives you as a person?
First and foremost, I'd say what drives me is my faith in God. My family drives me, both the family that raised me and the family that I'm raising with my husband, Asera. My culture. So I'm very proud of being a Samoan, Fijian, Kiwi. And also my love for Aotearoa New Zealand drives me because I'm passionate about helping to make Aotearoa New Zealand a better place.
Finally, Tupe, tell us a bit about your current role. You're working with the Michael and Suzanne Borrin Foundation. Tell us about what that role involves and some of the aspirations you have set for yourself for the future.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to be working at the Michael and Suzanne Borrin Foundation as the Chief Philanthropic Officer. The foundation was set up by the late Judge Ian Borrin with a $38 million bequest. The focus of the foundation is to make grants for legal research, education, and scholarship. And it's all about transformative change. We support the people and organizations who are working to bring about systemic change through the law, and in particular in the criminal justice system and family law. I feel so privileged to be a part of this organization, which is getting alongside people in the community who are working to bring about change, particularly at a time when the whole world is focused on systemic change. It feels like a tremendous privilege to be working towards solutions.
Tupe, thank you so much for sharing some of your journey with us today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.